Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles, episode 61, the Legend of Zelda D&D campaign run by me, Articulate T, Game Master. And with me today, as always, I have Renji Vox, being played by the lad.
I don't know what to say that makes it alliterative.
It's fine. I have Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
I'm gonna give Mara blue.
Jesus Christ.
It's a bit forward, isn't it?
Just a tiny bit. Yeah.
We have broken our DM. That's it for today. This has been episode 61. Thank you for listening.
Oh dear. And playing Zaiden Shari, I have Rob Pirate.
I'm gonna need to have a talk with Hikan about consent.
And playing Max, I have Keistrith.
So I have a new microphone.
So, what happened last time?
So, last time, we had a wonderful discussion with the Arbiter and found out he's the nicest person ever and just wants to spread daisies and no. We actually didn't find out much about him, mostly because Hikan, I was having a really bad luck day that day. But between alright insight rolls, translations after the fact, Zaiden did bring up that maybe he meant something a bit more personal when it came to definitions of certain words that were used towards Hikan. After he left, we dealt with Red Max. Went over to the guardhouse. Max and Max had a chat where Red Max calmed down a bit. We gave him some food while we waited. We had the guards sit there tell us the extent of the damages. Hikan paid to fix the damages that Max couldn't use magic to fix, and Zaiden healed everyone. Renji decided to go try to find a place to pawn off the flail.
And failed.
Yeah. And after that, we got our stuff together. Red Max, we just decided to, it was decided that he was to be exiled for a term of 3 years from Zora's domain. So we took that, gathered our horses, and headed out. We decided to start calling Red Max Maxwell. We had him start a bit of training rather, and controlling his magic by helping us set up camp. We then set up, when we were setting up watches, Max and Renji had an important talk about magic, and Zaiden and Hikan talked a bit about meditation and ran into Cashew, where Zaiden bought a chess set, and Hikan decided to buy the mysterious bottle item, which is a blue potion. And I believe that was when we ended the session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it is that we find ourselves back on the road of Hyrule, heading in a westerly direction towards Hyrule Castle Town, or at least that's the intended direction. But you had to stop for the night, as mentioned, to rest because it was getting late. The rest of your night goes essentially uneventful. You sit and wait for the sun to rise, given that Maxwell, unlike the rest of you, is still locked into an 8-hour resting period. But it seems to be a nice, beautiful day today. Only a couple of clouds in the sky, but they barely break up the endless, pleasant blue. And there is also a nice chill breeze, so it doesn't get too warm. Having a brief look around in the morning, Cashew, the Deku Scrub trader, seems to have moved on in the midst of the night, somehow unnoticed. But then again, he might be somewhere else. Might be next to another set of bushes. Hard to tell. But yeah.
I was thinking, Maxwell could have less than 8 hours sleep. Perfectly fine for you, right?
Fiery angry boy with 1 level of exhaustion.
Traveling next to a youth bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you are in Hyrule Field. You pack up camp. Anything else you need to or want to do in the morning before you continue your way down the road?
Hikan's
believe-
gonna make breakfast.
Okay.
That way, the 3 regulars get their snacks. Probably some form of stuff from the leftover rabbit today.
Okay.
Will there be a sparring session?
Actually, Hikan, after making the snacks and packing things up, would approach the normal combat members of the party a bit sheepishly, actually. A lot of the people that we've been fighting with except for Mr. Fairwind, they have magic. And well, when we were up at Snow Peak, sorry, I was touched by that statue's magic, and it affected me a lot. And I wanted to do something a bit different with practice. If we could get it so that way I could practice against magic. You know? Does that make sense?
I suppose, but I don't really have a lot of magic that would, like, incapacitate you instead of do actual, like, serious harm.
I don't think. I think after practicing either way, I can get the hang of it. So like even if you're like aiming for my feet or something, just to get used to it, you know, even with those weird colored thingies that you shoot from your hands sometimes.
Yeah, that I can try, but I mean, you pack a punch, but these pack a punch too.
Right? And I haven't knocked you out.
Fair enough, but I don't think I can pull my punches.
And just aim differently. Can't pull it? Make it close. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. There's other things that we could try with it or something. But
I mean, I'll try it if you want to. But this sounds more dangerous than anything else we've done.
Hikan kind of shrugs, and it's like, well, thinking about it, those other people that were using magic against us kind of wanted to kill us.
Yeah, and while there are things that I do
Maybe-
not count you amongst things that I would like to kill, Hikan.
Maybe Zidane can help.
Sidon will look up from his breakfast.
I want to practice. I want to practice against magic, so that way I'm better against it. Because just about everybody except Mr. Fairwind that we fought recently has had some kind of magic.
What do you want done to you?
Just general things. Renji doesn't want to shoot at me with his weird energy thingies. I don't know if there's things like if Max's sparky hands or
You know
I
my
don't know what you got.
You know my control is terrible.
Then we could practice having you get control too.
Do you remember what that statue did to you?
Exactly. That's why I want to practice.
I could do that to you if you want.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, above games because I want to practice towards something and have it make narrative sense.
Sounds good. So yeah, so Zayden, how would you apply hold person?
Let's see. I guess I'll just ask Hikan. Are you looking to resist getting affected in the first place, or to fight it off once it's affected you?
Both eventually. I mean, I don't really have much experience. Like, you guys have seen most of the experience that I have against magic. And so I don't really know which way to go about it. And that's part of the reason why I want to practice.
I'm not sure how it is with Max or with Zayden, but I mean, with my magic, it's not as if I've learned any sort of resistance to what I do. Like, being able to wield a sword does not mean that you get impervious to cuts.
Right. But if you know how to wield a sword properly, then, or how in different ways about it, you kind of have ideas of how other people are going to use it. Or if you have something done to you, like if you get cut or you touch something hot, you learn how to avoid that going forward. Or, if you fall off a horse when you're practicing riding, eventually you learn how to keep your balance. You know, it's less learning about like how to completely resist it or things. I know there's going to be probably stronger people.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about learning how to fight to the best of my ability against it as much as I can, because you guys do your magic differently, and so there's got to be different things that can be done with that. You know? I don't know.
As Renji talked about, like, resisting his own things, Max is like looking at his own hands, just concentrating. And after a while, this like glowing blue layer comes over his arm, of, like a facsimile of scales. I'm activating elemental affinity for resistance to electricity
Nice.
for the first time. And as he does that, I just sort of flinches back, like, ah, shit. And, like, pats it, and then stops, like, oh.
Everything good?
It's not. Okay. It's fine.
Here's a different example. That effect that Max and Maxwell did, where they tried to be all scary and stuff. I think I got something for that.
Do you want me to yell at you?
I mean, if you want.
Okay. Gestures for everyone else to move away.
Yeah.
I don't want to catch
take a step.
I don't want to catch everybody in fear.
Yeah. Maxwell and Mara also kind of just move back a bit. Maxwell's really kind of like very curious as to what you have just achieved with your elemental affinity, and it's just kind of, he looks down at his own hands, and really all he can muster at this point is like the occasional sparks between his fingers, and he just kind of shakes one of his hands and looks away a little dejectedly.
Gonna take a while to, make sure he's starting from somewhere calm at least. Then go cast Fear.
And I will willingly fail the saving throw. And next, so Hikan just kind of starts chittering his teeth a little bit.
You must use the dash action to move away from him.
Goodbye, Hikan!
Oh shit.
Oh no!
Do I need to get after him?
Can you catch up to him?
Safest available route unless there's nowhere to move. Okay,
can-
so
On the bright side, it looks like we're in a fairly open plain, so keep an eye on
I
you
was
for a
gonna
while.
say
I
for
was gonna
flavors
say-
check,
I
we
was
could
gonna-
do
I
it
was
against
gonna-
the tree.
I was gonna say I give it like 2 rounds and then cancel it because concentration.
I was gonna say you could
That way you can come back to us.
or you could Odyssey this and tie Hikan to a tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Or technically speaking, if like I can't get around the tree, if I cannot move, then I could use.
Well, it
Stillness
says
of Mind.
must take the dash action. It doesn't say any other action, so you can't escape bonds if you have them.
Yeah,
So yeah, you can tie yourself to a tree.
unless there's nowhere to move, and then I could escape from there. But then it would be tying me to a tree, and then I could respond with Stillness of Mind.
Yeah.
So let me tie you to a tree real quick.
The image you get is, of course, the big image of the blue dragon just roaring behind Max.
Hikan just kind of like eyes widen a little bit, and he. See?
You okay?
Yeah.
Good. Good. He shakes his arm again to try and get the blue glow off, and it doesn't leave for it because it lasts an hour.
Aw.
Okay. But yeah, stuff like that. I'm sure I could figure something out. But yeah. Actually need to look at that thing that I was thinking about. Anywho,
Okay.
I'll let you guys think about it if you guys wanted to try other things. But yeah, right now, that's what I want to look towards doing.
Oh well, I have Hold Person and Fairy Fire to cast on you. I don't think you can fail a Fairy Fire save.
I don't know if I could fail it willingly, but I know I can fail it if I roll really low.
It's a dex save.
My dex saves only +9.
Okay, only +9.
Just a lowly +9.
I mean, you can't do anything with a +9.
So that's a 6 and below.
Possible to fail.
But yeah.
Yes, for now we'll keep on traveling.
Okay. So, you pack up your camp and once again mount your horses and continue down the road to Hyrule Castle Town. Much like the rest of the day, it is fairly pleasant. The roads are largely empty. No one seems to be traveling up or down this road, with the exception of the occasional trader or small group of guards. You do make some pretty decent time on the horses, and it's about early afternoon by the time you reach Lon Lon Ranch. Is there anything you would like to do at the ranch, or do you wish to continue on?
Get some milk.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that. And I would like to keep an eye out for Leona in case they did give her her job back.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Mara!
Hmm?
Could you look at this? And I hand her the blue potion.
Oh, sure. Give me a second. And she will take the potion and carefully examine it. As she does so, she explains. Okay, so this appears to be a standard blue potion. And mechanically, she'll explain that it heals the same amount as a normal potion of healing, but you also roll a d4 and regain that many levels worth of spells.
Oh.
Or spell slots when you do. There are larger and greater versions of said potion. It just costs a lot because it does a lot more than a standard potion does.
Magic potion.
Green potions only do the roll a d4, regain that many levels worth of spell slots.
Okay. So Hikan then turns and looks at the spellcasters of the party.
Sidon will then turn and look at the spellcasters of the party.
Max
I
just,
mean, I don't want to be greedy. I have a lot of magic items already.
Max just kind of shrugs. Like, I don't know.
Well,
How does that
You
work
get-
for Orlok, actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Do you have to roll the
You
full?
have to roll the maximum.
Hikan was going to bring up that, well, Renji, don't you get your stuff back from taking like a quick break like I do?
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, Hikan looks at Zayden and Max.
To max it is.
Okay.
Here you go, Max.
You now have a aesthetically matching blue potion.
Yay.
Also dye your hair.
Oh. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh
Okay.
dear. Okay. Stopping into Lon Lon Ranch. Do I still have music for Lon Lon Ranch? I must do, right? No, apparently it has been removed from my little list of music things. Dang. Oh well. You are heading into Lon Lon Ranch. You can see that the ranch has more or less returned to business as usual now that Ramon and his little gang of idiots have been vanquished. Thankfully, you do not see a Darknut war wagon anywhere near the place.
Good.
But yeah, approaching one of the farmhands, he looks over and says, well, howdy there. What can I do for you?
We were passing through, and we would be looking to buy some milk.
Ah, buying some milk, eh? Well, can certainly do that. You looking for the bottle or the barrel?
Bottles, please.
Bottles, okay. And he says, if you're able to come along with me, and he leads you to a little storeroom place, where you can see the various kind of things that they have. There are rows of glass bottles worth of Lon Lon milk. And you say, now, we have a couple of varieties of Lon Lon milk, as I'm sure you might be aware. We are kingdom-wide famous for the milk as well as the horses. If you want some standard milk that you might be looking to use in a recipe or simply to drink, then by all means that'll be 5 copper pieces per bottle. But if you're looking for something which is a little hardier, I know that there are a couple of guards and sometimes 1 or 2 adventurers who come by wanting to get some milk. If you're looking for something like that, then that's going to run you roughly the same, 50 gold pieces, please.
I am interested to buy 5 bottles of your regular milk.
Okay.
And I would like to buy 3 bottles of your more hearty milk.
Okay. So he says, "Alrighty then," and he goes back and he goes away and comes back with 5 5 glass bottles with regular corks on the top, and like the little kind of paper label of the Lon Lon Ranch taped around the outside of the actual bottle of milk. As expected, it is just standard milk. But the other ones he comes back with are kind of, the cork is kept tied down with like a metal kind of, you know how you got on like wine things, where you have like a cork.
The dog wants to break free.
Yeah, like you got on champagne bottles and stuff. And the label is painted gold on that one. He hands you those 3. Mechanically speaking, just for the sake of brevity, they heal 2d6 plus 2 hit points. Yeah. But they only come in one size, and you can only get them here.
It's a slightly better healing potion.
Yeah. You said how much healing again?
2d6 plus 2.
2d6 plus 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to hand the man 15 platinum coins.
Thank you,
And
Canvasser.
then count out 5 copper and 2 silver pieces.
Okay.
I believe that is the smallest amount of coins that I can buy this for.
Okay. He nods and gladly takes the coin. He's not going to do you the disservice of counting it again. He puts it in a small iron lockbox that is nearby the stack of shelves. He just puts it in, closes it, locks it, and says, pleasure doing business with you.
Likewise.
Hikan counts the members of the party real quick, and he goes, Max, Zayden, Renji, Mara, me. And then he I would like a bottle of regular milk, please. And hands over 5 copper pieces.
Okay. He will take the 5 copper pieces, pluck another bottle of regular milk from the shelf, and hand it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He opens the lockbox and puts that in as well and closes it.
Did Leona come back? I think I left a message for her in Castle Town after the stuff with Ramona.
Oh, Miss Goodwater. She came back briefly, just to settle things up. But I think she lost her taste for the life of the ranch hand. Last time we spoke, she was fixing to go about doing this adventuring thing. Apparently, a couple people had gone and made a good impression of her, so she thought she'd give it a bit of a whirl.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Oh no, we're a bad influence.
She'll be fine.
Yeah, she's probably a barbarian. She'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be okay. But yeah, so after settling up business in Lon Lon Ranch, do you continue on your way?
I believe so, unless there's anything that catches my eye or
With your
is of
passive
interest.
perception of 18, no, it just seems again like business as usual in Lon Lon Ranch. People tending to the horses, and the other livestock. A couple of people just lazing about, while others do some of the more hardy labor. But everyone seems to be enjoying themselves in their work.
Right. How long have we been away from Hyrule Castle Town, by the way?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna say somewhere in the somewhere coming up close to 2 weeks.
2.
All right. Then the first thing I would like to do, as we get closer to Hyrule Castle Town, when we see or we pass a guard, I kind of want to stop and ask for basically the latest news, and if I'll just ask him regularly, regularly about this, and if they want to ask me why I'm asking, I'll just identify myself as being a member of the Shika court.
Okay. Yeah. So, you continue down the road as you do. You reach Hyrule Castle Town without interruption. Everything seems more or less working as it was when you left it. People attending to the farms that dot around the outside of the castle walls. And you see more of a concentration of people going in and out of town. You arrive at the gate at roughly early evening. Let's say about 5 p.m. And as you get there, you see that there are a collection of guards outside the gate, as usual. A bit more than normal, admittedly. Like, they seem to have upped the number of guards around. Yeah, as you approach, one of the guards, backed up by one of his companions, moves forward and puts a hand up and says, "Excuse me, sir. If I could stop you for, sirs, peoples, if I could stop you for a moment just to ask what your business is in town, please."
Of course, we've been traveling across the land on orders of Renji Vox.
He kind of nods, like he's.
And I hold up my signet ring. I am Renji, heir of Nihilus. This here is our companion, our company, the Storm's Eye.
I see. Very well. And he kind of he scrutinizes the signet ring.
A small, cruel part of me was thinking when he was asking us to please stop, if we could stop, just keep going.
I don't want to get in a fight with the guards.
I don't either. I don't want any more bad blood between me
We just got
castle.
back. He scrutinizes the ring, and mumbles something to his companion, who in turn mumbles something back, and he says, "All right, seems legitimate. If
I almost feel offended by the name. The sound seems legitimate.
So, yeah, by all means, continue on your way in. We will not interrupt you any further.
Barrel?
Question.
Yes.
Is Mr. Larson Graves still working?
Oh, the chaplain. Yes, he is still performing his duties in the town.
Where would be easiest to find him? That I could. I had some things I needed to talk with him about.
You'll need to probably check in at the town house or the guard house in the northern noble district. They'll probably know where he is. We've been on duty here for the majority of the day. We wouldn't know where he's gone to.
Thank you.
Of course. And the two guards return back to their post unless anyone stops them.
Yes, I do want to ask them about local developments.
Oh, well, not much, really. As far as I am aware, there is planning being made for a week-long celebration to for the purposes of the coronation of the new king, of course. I suppose that's really it in regards to news. His companion says, "Oh, yeah, there have been a couple of maneuvering arounds of guards things as such. It's just a realignment of the guards, really, just to make way for such a celebration, I think." And the other one goes, "Yeah, it seems like it. More people posted towards the gates of the city. Considering it is a momentous occasion, there's going to be lots of people moving in."
Indeed.
Yes.
dignitaries of other countries and people wanting to get a glimpse of the new royal ruler.
Hmm.
Makes quite a bit of sense.
They kind of nod and he says, yeah, well, he's young, but Prince Marius, I think, will be okay with it. He's usually the charismatic sort. And the other one says, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. They have, of course, increased detail at the or guard detail in the castle. I imagine that you would probably be privy to that, considering what happened to the previous king, of course. And speaking of, there's still no word as to where Princess Sophitia has disappeared to. But if you know anything, please inform one of the guards in town. They'll be able to pass that message on and help in the search.
We'll definitely do so if we hear anything. Any word from castle directly? Does she get there?
They kind of look to each other, then shake their heads and say, "Not really, no. Everything seems to be. It's either not. There's not much news coming from the castle itself, or alternatively, they're keeping it rather hush hush, considering the ensuing event."
Oh, then we'd better get there ourselves. Thank you for your cooperation. And I lead my horse into the town.
Okay. He nods, and the two of them go back to their post as you guys re-enter Hyrule Castle Town. There we go. There we go.
It's been so long since we've seen this map.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have entered in through the Eastern Residential District. It is quite busy at this time of the evening. Then again, I guess it is kind of the equivalent of rush hour. So people are maneuvering in and out, making their way towards a shopping district or any other small shops that they might need to before they head home for the evening. Going to and from their jobs. It seems quite busy, and all around you can definitely hear that news of the coronation and still talk about the king's assassination have effectively taken over almost all of the more audible gossip that goes on in the process of this whole thing.
The Khan would like to take Max to go stable horse. Or Maxwell.
Okay.
We should all stable horses.
They will probably do so at the castle itself.
Okay.
Yeah, but the rest of us can't do that, so.
That's fair.
We can't.
Renji showing off
Would
again.
Pom be stabled at the castle, or would Pom be stabled at a guard's house or somewhere?
I imagine that for the sake of dignitaries in the castle needing to flee at a moment's notice, there would be a stable at the castle. Because the roads are wide. The roads are wide enough to allow to flee by horse, and it's one of those things where it's just it would make sense for the royal horses to be kept there.
I'd look over at the others. Is there any place we would want to meet up? I don't want to have the horses with us at all times, as, well, you seem to also be inclined to.
Well, does anyone have any business in town that they need to take care of urgently?
Not urgent.
I would like to talk to Mr. Graves sooner rather than later.
I would want to join you on that endeavor.
Because we could always wait for the thingy to go to Uriel's. I think that was about it, other than trying to meet up with your dad.
That's also a thing, yes.
We're going together then.
How is Maxwell taking coming into the city?
I am right next to him.
He's overwhelmed. This is certainly different from Zoro's domain. Everything in Zoro's domain was kind of, I guess, for the sake of it, rather tranquil. And, like, even though it is the Zora capital, since most of it is underwater, like, he only really ever saw half the population, half the architecture, and it was kind of quiet. Here, though, everything is everywhere and it's loud and lots of things are happening. So he's kind of shrunken in on himself as he's looking around all of these people and everything that is happening. It's a very active place and he's clearly not used to it.
Yeah, whenever I see Sparks, I'm just telling him to breathe.
Good. He just kind of... as he takes in deep breaths.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we could meet you at the North Guardhouse then, unless you find your dad before that, and then he can meet us at the North Guardhouse too.
If I do see him, yeah, I'll bring him. Better to have everyone there if we debrief.
Okay.
Okay. I'm guessing everyone except Renji is heading towards the guardhouse, and then Renji's heading towards the castle? Okay.
I believe so.
All right. Let's see. Yeah. What's everybody's passive? 17, 18, 15, 18. Okay. All right. Well, Mara says that she'll also be going to the castle, but she will stay in the library to do basically do some paperwork. Just kind of like collate everything that has happened thus far. And we'll meet back up with you guys at a different location if needs be. Like, it'll probably take her the rest of the evening to get that sorted. So she says that if you need her, she'll be at the castle, but otherwise, if all else fails, meet at the Royal Hylian Inn. At the very least, it's an establishment everybody is familiar with. So while you head to the castle, Zayden, Hikan, and Max, you walk through the streets, heading northwards through the rest of the residential district, and managing to make your way through some of the noble district, the much wealthier part of town that, for a time, you have become familiar with. It seems a lot quieter here, and actually with your passive insights, you each kind of get the feeling that, for the most part, people seem to be looking over their shoulders somewhat. You notice that there's less of a presence of guards in the noble district at this time, and everyone who's kind of there, while you can see a couple of people just kind of paying everything no mind, going about their business, some of the people who are wandering around in much finer clothes seem to be looking over their shoulder somewhat and kind of wary of their surroundings. And this feeling pervades everything as you find your way to the Northern Guardhouse. Meanwhile, before I say meanwhile, is there anything you guys wanted to do either on the way to the guardhouse or with this information?
There's just a general unease.
Like, there's people in finery. Are there any nobles that we would recognize? Because I know we met Kazim Das, Rickshaw, obviously, Lady Risha.
You make note that there is one noble that you saw at the party but didn't speak to. She's a well-built woman with raven black hair, and she seems to be much like she was at the party, without anybody with her, but she's clearly got the kind of red, black, and gold attire of a noblewoman, and you recognize this as Lady Milrose. And you know she's Lady Milrose, and you recognize the kind of mannerisms in the general sense that Miss Milrose tends to wander around without actual guard detail. She was, much like yourselves, at one point an outspoken adventurer, but while she retired, sans arrow to the knee, she still feels confident in her abilities as a warrior and escape artist, and she's mainly just makes a pointed effort to not be escorted by anyone as she goes about her business for the day, which makes it very difficult for her appointed guards to really do their jobs. But you see her, she's wandering around, she's kind of examining the whole place, like as she's walking down the street, kind of examining everything with scrutiny. Like, she knows something's up, but she can't put her finger on it, and she's just keeping an eye.
So, that's one of the ladies from the party. Do you think she might know what's going on? It feels different here. Not good different.
She quite possibly might.
Would you be okay if we talk to her first?
I don't mind.
Looking at Max and Maxwell.
Max is too busy having trauma flashbacks to the party.
Maxwell has no opinions one way or the other. He doesn't know this person.
Filthy neutral.
So, yeah, Hikan will... Would it be a history check to see if I can recall what Renji might have told me in a very rushed sense about etiquette when we're interacting with nobles?
Yes. Let's go
Excellent.
with that.
2. Hikan walks straight up to leaning over.
Okay. And she looks over and says, Oh, hello. How might I help you?
Hi. I recognized you from the ball where all the really bad stuff happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We were, with, Renji, Vox. That's his name.
Oh, you're Lord Simeon's former retinue. Oh, my apologies for not recognizing you. Yes, absolutely. How can I help you?
We were gone for a little while, and it feels different.
Yes.
Not good different, like bad different. And there's not as many guards here.
Yes. Yes, that would be correct. And she kind of looks around. And says, it is, how should I say, there is a pervading air of unease that has kind of taken over the entire place. I'm not sure what it is. I think since the king's death and it being so close to Lord Simeon's own death, it feels like there is something going on that seems to be targeting the nobility of the kingdom. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what that problem is, and I would hope to be able to solve it somehow, but I already have my own duties to attend to, and truth be told, I'm not even sure where to start.
Well,
I also forgot to put Whitestone's estate on, since you guys would know where that is.
well, I think that we're pretty good at finding stuff. If we find anything, I could. Would it be a good idea to like share information? I don't know. I don't know how these things work.
Probably.
Yes, I think so. I was thinking of going to speak to Lord Whitestone. He's usually the one who is in charge of the guards for the most part, but from what I understand, since the passing of his son, I feel that he might still be resting elsewhere. I believe he's currently in his summer home in Green Hills while he recovers emotionally. Lady Cassandra Summerborn is the one who's currently dealing with the day-to-day aspects of the guards.
Well, we were on our way to go talk to Mr. Larson Graves about a couple of things. Would you like us to pass a message? Would that be helpful?
That would be a good idea, yes. Perhaps that would be a wise idea. Simply say to Mr. Graves that in any capacity, I will keep my ear to the ground, and that it would be wise, perhaps, to conduct his own internal investigation into this matter. Just for the sake of clarity. I don't believe there is corruption within the guard in any sense, but we just have to be sure. You can't simply run on assumptions and good feelings every now and again. We have to actually act on information.
Okay. Hikan nods sharply. In case we do find something, how would it be best to get a hold of you?
If you leave a message with one of the guards who stand in front of my estate, I'm sure that they will get that message back to me.
And which one's yours?
Yeah, you don't have Renji with you to point out where everybody lives, so, or Mara for that matter, so she will give you the basic directions where it points to her estate on the map, which is there.
Yay. Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem.
And then Hikan, not remembering anything about etiquette, goes back on his way towards the courthouse.
It's okay. Lady Milrose doesn't care. She's the least. She acts the least noble out of all the nobles.
That's why I figured this one would have been safe to make that roll with.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't Rickshaw.
Yeah. At the very least, it was not Rickshaw.
I wouldn't have cared. I stunned him last time I saw him.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah. But yeah, and you find your way to the guardhouse. Meanwhile, with Renji and Mara, Renji, after you put Palm in a stable and the royal stable hands tend to the matter, you re-enter Hyrule Castle, and for the most part, yeah, everything is in swing for this big coronation that's happening very, very, very soon, which seems, considering what you know, and perhaps not what the rest of the kingdom knows, might be unwise right now. But the for the most part, most of the castle servants are busying themselves with decorations and supplies and running back and forth. They seem as frantic as they were before the ball, all but 2 weeks ago. And it's heading through the castle corridors. Eventually you get to a point where Mara parts company from you. She makes her way to the library and says that she will meet you guys later. For the sake of argument, I will say that she kept one of the sending stones, and you, someone else in the party has the other one. So if you need to call her, then you can.
Excellent.
Yes. You guys do have sending stones, right? Or am I confusing you with Group 1?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's group 1 that has the sending.
Group 1 has sending stones. Right.
I mean,
so...
I'm happy to have sending stones. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, I don't think we bought them. We had the option to, but I don't think we did.
Yeah. What did you get the paper airplanes or?
Yes.
No, you didn't. I'm looking at your treasure. Folks, this is the problem with running the campaign with two groups. As fun as it is with both groups, and I love it to bits. I am not the mental champion that I need to be.
We got some
kind of paper.
Yeah, we got some kind of paper thing because Renji conned him into selling it for super cheap.
Ah, so you did, yeah.
That is true.
So you have the paper airplanes at least, and it's perfectly within the range, which I think is 5 miles. So you'll be fine. You have the paper airplanes, or you could probably just send a runner. Yeah. So now that you're in the castle and by yourself, I'm guessing you're trying to hunt down your father?
Yes, and also avoid Lord Zelish.
Okay. Alright, give me a... Actually, you know what? You know this castle inside and out. You don't need to make a roll. So, you begin heading through the castle, heading specifically towards Nihilus's old haunts, or current haunts, I should say, as he does his best to, or as you do your best to try and find him. Unfortunately, no luck. In fact, the person you find first appears to be Impa and Prince Rufus as they're walking through one of the corridors, trying their best to avoid some of the servants as they frantically move about. Impa looks to you and says, "Oh, hey, Renji, hi." And Prince Rufus kind of leans to the side and waves a bit.
I bow and I do a wave afterwards. Kind of the deferential, but also like, I know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was looking for my dad. Impa, have you seen him?
I'm afraid Nihilus is still out looking for Sophitia. We haven't seen hide nor hair of him since he left the first time.
Is there a way one would be able to get into contact with him? I have, well, quite a few notes, and much has happened.
I'm not sure. It might be... I would suggest speaking to Zelish, but Zelish hasn't left Kakariko since the king died.
For reasons, I would prefer to have this go through my father and not Lord Zelish.
I can imagine.
I look over at her and do I sense that does she know?
She's currently standing with her arms folded, and for the most part, she's standing somewhat in front of Rufus. So while she doesn't have, her body language doesn't portray that she doesn't trust you or sees you as a potential threat, she is clearly not pleased.
So there are developments that you must be aware of.
It's an aspect of security to make sure that the royal family stay as safe as possible. Of course, the four of us all know.
I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. But things have been developing in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are certain things I need to speak to my father about, given that you are also part of the Sheikah Council within Hyrule Castle, that you also need to hear about this. Range is like kind of lost words as he tries to broach the subject of having killed a lord.
He kind of stands there and waits in anticipation.
So,
If information shared between them, you could just give her the information.
I pull out the stack of paper that I've written my notes on. We have been to Port Sarkosa,
Mm-hmm.
and we have been to Drumnik, and we have been to Snow Peak, and Snowhead mansion that's built on top of there. We are on the trail of a cartel. Twilight Cartel.
She kind of like raises
Name
an eyebrow.
unrelated
Right.
somehow. And one of the heads of this cartel, I'm trying to figure out what's the name of this guy? Springy Man.
Springy Man?
Springy Man was Lord Arthur Grostel.
Grostel, yes.
Yeah.
One of the heads we've encountered in Sarkosa Port was a Mr. Mightwind. No, not
Fairwind.
Fairwind. Darn it, Mr. Fairwind. Another head of the Twilight Cartel was Lord Grastel.
Don't you go throwing me under the bus?
I'm sorry. No, that doesn't. I'm terrible with names. Renji is known to like. Oh, I know you. I don't know your name.
Right. Okay. Lord Grastel, you say, was one of the heads of this cartel?
Yes. Was.
Kind of like
Right.
narrows her eyes
Pull
slightly.
out one of the notes detailing his rituals and transformation. We confronted him in his manner. We attempted to discuss things. No attempt was made by him to consider a diplomatic approach.
He kind of like looks over the notes. Rufus, meanwhile, just kind of stands idly, like he's curious as to the conversation, but he has no idea of the context, or at least no idea what to make of the context. But he just kind of like he's choosing not to speak because he recognizes Impa's body language as being in not a good mood, and so she kind of like looks over the papers. And then kind of like looks back to you, looks back to the papers, says, right.
This is why I wanted to send this over to my father as soon as possible, as he is...
I feel like that would not be the wisest. It seems that our two... Effectively, the two senior members of our little retinue here have ultimately found themselves in a situation where they are not mentally or emotionally capable of dealing with this additional news. And she waves the paper slightly. Zelish is beyond grieving. The first thing Nihilus attempted to do upon his own search for the princess was to go speak with Zelish about any other possible leads and coordination. Zelish would not speak to him. No one has been able to get any kind of answer out of Zelish more for days. He's just returned home and has not said a word.
What about the elders? What about the if there is no Grandmaster in Castle Town or in Kakariko capable of...
Zelish still holds the title, but the elders are currently debating what to do about the situation. After all, this is the first time in as many years since the interlopers that anyone has breached Hyrule Castle and killed a monarch. This is not something to be taken lightly.
I am not taking this lightly.
I know you're not. I'm simply explaining the fact that neither Zelish nor Nihilus are in a state of mind to really be coordinating anything. I cannot coordinate anything, as now that the king has sadly passed away, my duty lies even more now to Prince Rufus, and Alea now lies to Marius. The elders are currently taking political leadership at this point in time, but they still have to discuss what to do, how to rectify the situation, now that there is a known glaring flaw in the castle. At this point in time, we simply take this information that you have provided, we act upon it as we can, and then when we find one bit of respite, we reconvene and we discuss it further. At least that is how I have been informed. Now, and she looks over the notes that you provided and says, so it seems, and she holds up Artemis's little scrawling. I don't think Impa speaks the language it was written in.
It was Celestial, wasn't it?
It was, oh yeah, it was Celestial, wasn't it? Oh no, I think it was Abyssal. Hold on. Documents, Artemis's note. Yeah, written in Abyssal. And I'm guessing someone provided a translation.
Did we have Abyssal speakers?
If we have a physical document, I have the spyglass of translation.
So he probably made a translated copy of that with that.
Yeah, that's what happened. Was you had Max go hold it up against the wall.
Yeah. So she kind of takes up the document and says, What is this one? It's written in something I don't know how to read.
And I rifle through the pages. Yes, and I hand her the transcription and translation.
Kind of looks over it. And after, like, you can see her eyes rapidly moving over the lines, and then she says, right, okay. So, it seems that one other member of this cartel resides in this town. Great. And she hands the document back.
As far as we can tell, there are 3 heads.
And you have slain 2.
Yes. Now, I am well aware that or at least I believe this to be the case, that Nihilus sent me on this mission firstly because he knows that my friends are capable, but also so that I am out of the way.
Kind of.
I am aware that if this task is done, that the question of whether or not I will be welcome any longer here must need to be addressed.
He heaves a sigh and says, even when he was in a good mood, Nihilus was hard for me to read. But I do not believe it will be as simplistic as that.
No,
What matters?
this question will probably be the first of many.
I'm sorry that I cannot offer you many words of advice or comfort in this. I do not know how Nihilus will react to what has transpired. What I do know is that at this point in time, whatever this thing is that you have attached yourself to has not influenced your decisions too closely. Otherwise, we would be having a very different form of conversation right about now. After all, it was not your blade that took the life of the king. In fact, you did your best to stand in the way of that. It is simply a matter of an aspect of our past that is not one that we would like to remember. In fact, it hurts us so.
It is true.
Remember, as far as I am concerned, at the very least, what matters is not what power you have, but how you use it to act. Your actions speak louder than anything that you are. And thus far, from what I can gather, while I am not pleased with you, you have done a sterling job in trying to better this kingdom in the short weeks that you have been on this little royal task force that you are on. So I suggest you continue down that path.
I stand there for just a moment, sit still, and then I get down on my knees and I prostrate myself before saying, up until this moment, I believed that I had lost a friend.
Kind of kneels down a little. Oh, she kneels down and puts her hand on your shoulder and says, friends tell friends when they fuck up. And while you did fuck up, you have not ultimately lost your way. But you have to continue doing this regardless of what Zelish or Nihilus say about you or order you to do. Stay true to your values. Okay?
Okay. I will.
Alright. She stands up again and looks to Rufus and says, we have other business that we need to attend to. I do not know how you continue doing this, but I will, or how you will continue down this path of dealing with this cartel. But in the meantime, I will recommend that you entrust or inquire some aid in local law enforcement if you can.
This was our plan, yes.
Very
I
good.
will be meeting up with my companions. We will be speaking with Chaplain Graves. There's some details about the encounter with Lord Grastel that needs to be addressed.
Very well. And if I might ask one question before you go.
Yes.
How do you plan on presenting this information to Lord Grastel's daughter?
We have not yet come to a satisfying means to do so. It is a sensitive topic, let alone if taken out of context. The context makes it leagues more complicated. Any
Well,
suggestions?
Well, while you are on the task force, your job is currently to root out whatever it was that was responsible for the king's death and put an end to it. So, strictly speaking, your job right now is to find this final Twilight Cartel leader and take care of them. However, it is also inadvisable to simply delegate the delivery of that news to somebody else who might not have been involved in this scenario. Perhaps it would be best, whenever you get a moment to simply sit down with your companions and discuss your, for lack of a better term, plan of attack when it comes to this sort of thing.
Honestly, the idea of leaving it to someone else hadn't even crossed my mind.
Good. I'm sure you'll do fine.
Thank you.
Right.
And I turn to the little prince, and I again bow and say, "Have a good one." And then I leave.
Take care. He says, waving, lacking any kind of other words. He's like, bye.
I wave over my shoulder. Thanks, my prince. And I head back. Not confident in the slightest that I will not bump into Lord Zelish. Or
it's like
Lord
just
Nihilus.
Coincidentally he has left his house for now and is here right now. It's just
back. I have a question actually. Since Impa just swore in front of the prince, has she told him all the bad words?
In
you
both
may
languages.
you may have to find out someday.
I really hope she has.
Impa seems like that kind of caretaker. Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, so you I'm guessing you head out in order to go to meet up with the others at the guardhouse. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So you all eventually reconvene at the guardhouse, where in the as you get there, you notice once again there's not as many guards here as you were expecting. Instead, like there are a couple on the door and there are a few wandering around, but for the most part, yeah, there's just not as many guards here. But you do get led into a little side room where there is a desk, and you can see Larson Graves with his armor not on. He's currently wearing like some practical vestments as he's looking over documents. In one corner, in like a nice spacious cage, is a cuckoo, which is just wandering around in its little enclosure, rather happy where it is. The guard kind of knocks on the door frame as Larson looks up and says, "Sir, we have some people here to see you." And he looks up and says, "Oh, sure, let him in." And the guard lets you in and then leaves you to it.
Zayden. Zayden. Do you have any of your good berries?
Yes,
Could I have one, please?
certainly. I will
So
provide
as
one good berry.
so as we walk in, I go feed the good berry to Evie in the cage.
Okay. Nice. Gladly takes the good berry, like clucks away as she does, and Chaplain of Din Lawson Graves looks to all of you and says, "So, I hear tell from a couple of people that you've been very busy, or at least away."
Yeah. Who wants? Before I forget, and I will tell him because I forgot out of character what Lady Pilrose said,
Okay.
because that's probably pretty immediate. So
Yeah. Okay. Internal affairs investigation seems logical, though truth be told, there isn't really many people to investigate anymore.
what happened?
Well, since you've been gone, there's been a series of changes within how the regiments have been working. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we are stretched thin. There's just fewer guards available now. I'm not sure if it's a budget cut thing or something, but changes have been made. And there just appears to be less guards available to patrol the streets and guard the gatehouses.
Wouldn't this be the worst time for something like that?
It would be. Although I'm not sure whether or not the changes were made with those aspects in mind. It is, admittedly, uncharacteristically quick for us to be having another coronation so soon after the previous king had passed away. But, well, I guess considering most things and the way that everything is happening, having some kind of leader would be something of a morale boost. Shortly before your... around the time of your departure, the general perception of the town had been, or of the kingdom had been dwindling slightly, what with a notable noble being slain in his own graveyard, and then the king being slain and the princess being kidnapped. And another noble deciding to leave for a brief time, and another noble had been missing for months. Things have been in motion, I suppose, and it has not been good.
It was Lord Whitestone that was in charge of the guards, right?
He was, but shortly after the death of his son Marcus, then he was grieving and had decided that he was not fit for duty, at least for the moment. So he has left Castle Town to rest at his home in Green Hills, and his subordinate, Cassandra Summerborn, is the one currently organizing everything to do with the guards, as well as everything else to do with the aspects of law within the town.
And you guys are stretched thin.
Mm-hmm.
Did she do something about that?
Might be worth talking to her, but I don't know whether or not she would have the time. I'm not exactly sure what the full length of the changes are. I only know so much as this current district, as well as what I hear in other places. We've been so busy, I haven't had much of a chance to talk to any of the other chaplains to see what their take on this situation is.
And we all came in at the same time, right?
Okay,
Yeah, you're all here.
fair enough. So, guards are stretched thin. What about the army?
The army is a different matter. I think that hasn't changed much, though that aspect is Lady Risha's remit.
Fuck.
I was gonna say, what save would it be to try to repress a flinch?
Deception, I think.
Okay, I'll +1. All right.
I am not hiding this.
That's 6. So yeah, Hikan just winces a bit.
Like, Blossom raises an eyebrow and says, something the matter?
Yes.
I see.
I glance around. Are there any other guards other than the chaplain?
Yeah, there's one standing outside the door.
Can we speak privately?
Sure. Okay. Samson? Yes, sir? Go, we'll need a bit of privacy for a second. If you could, I'll be fine by myself. He says, yes, sir. And he trumps off down the hall, around the corner.
Hikan would like to close the door.
Okay.
So, to be blunt, we killed Lord Grastel.
Did Impa give Renji his paperwork back, by the way?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I'll make copies.
Interesting choice of words. As Larson just kind of mulls this over, and you can see,
start putting down notes and the books, and specifically the books with the ritual for the rituals on kind of. Is it blasphemous for?
I was gonna say, Maxwell just straight up say he had captured an angel of Din and was torturing it.
Yeah.
To strengthen himself, to turn it himself into something that is not human.
Okay.
Also, he was involved with the crime cartel.
There's a lot to unpack, yes.
He's kind of with the structure that you had, there was the very briefest moment where Larson was like, I think I will have, whether or not I can take these guys, I think I have no choice, so I gotta start planning that. Oh, right. Oh, right.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You're not criminals. He was a criminal. He was real
there
bad.
was treason, but on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Turns out we weren't the treason after all.
Renji, I think it might be easier to show him the paperwork, and then for the sake of brevity, we fill him in.
Yeah. So he kind of looks over this, and you can see that as he reads over the nature of the ritual, as you describe what he did and what everything was, that there is a visible...
And the state we found the angel in.
Yeah, there is a visible level of horror and disgust that seems to be running through Larson at this point in time. So much so that he's trying very hard to formulate any kind of words that go beyond what he's thinking right now, which is less dialogue, more grabbing his spear and marching up to Snowhead to double kill him, but otherwise...
I will also then say, we think we know Risha wasn't involved, right?
It was strongly implied she wasn't in the notes, if I remember what you guys told me correctly. As Hikan's half out of his shirt at this point, pulling out the missive from behind the Book of Mudora in his waterproof book bag. This is from one of the ladies at the Temple of Lord Jabu Jabu. That's where we had to leave the angel. I was told to give it to you.
He kind of takes it over, looks it over. Right. Okay.
I could run this to the temple after we're done here, if that would be easier for you.
It would be. I would go myself, but this is not a great time for that.
I understand. I do not necessarily wish to burden you with this, but I believe that you would need to know. We are going to have to go to Lady Risha, and I will be more sensitive in my words with her.
Good. Right.
I trust you can be more amenable to direct words.
I'm not sure what to do.
There was one more thing. Hikan's kind of hesitating, but he pulls out the Chalice of Din and sets it on his desk. I think this belongs to the church. I don't know what to do with it. Should I go give it to them? As player Alverin's cries, because the boy would do the right thing.
Is this familiar to you?
I don't recognize
Awesome.
it. I don't recognize it at all.
Okay.
My question is this, though. Was this involved with what his rituals were about in any way, shape, or form?
I have reason to believe so.
This is not directly based on anything like we've seen or anything, but from what I can tell, the blood of an angel was siphoned off, and I believe that Lord Grastel may have used this chalice to imbue it with more power and then imbibe it. During our fight with him, he seemed to be capable of healing, seemed to have a stronger resistance to standard fare of weaponry.
I have... On the one hand, I would say that this item would be entirely within your remit to see how you would use it. On the other hand, it is a piece of evidence of an active crime. So I will have to impound it. And admittedly, still, after all this is sorted, I would ordinarily give it back to you, but considering that it was involved in a high form of blasphemy, I would be remiss to say that I would not like to see it destroyed. But at this point in time, it is evidence, and it needs to be treated as such.
Glances at the cage with the chicken in it.
Yes, is evidence there?
Yeah, I fed Evie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I trust you with evidence.
But that's it. No. Oh!
After so many episodes, Hikan finally understands.
Hikan nods. Alfred's cries, but Hikan nods.
He says, "Okay. What's your plan now?"
First order of business is break the news to Lady Risha.
We pretty much informed him about everything, right?
Yeah.
Including that the third one's here with the dull-eyed children that are walking around.
Mm-hmm.
If we can...
Has there been any news or anything relating to children acting strange lately?
There had been one or two reports in the slums of people having their children go missing, but we haven't found anything else besides that. And with the guards now stretched thin, we don't really get many reports anymore from anywhere.
It's a place to start looking, I guess.
Okay.
I have so much paperwork to do. Okay, I will let you get on with that, and in the meantime, I will write all of this down as best I can, and then begin my own internal affairs investigation. If things are as bad as they are, then honestly, I don't really have much time to waste.
At some point, those the paperwork that we got from Flamgos, could I take a look at that?
Sure.
It doesn't have to be now, because I know you're busy, but...
How pertinent is it?
To this, not very.
Okay.
Before we leave town again, I'd like to take a look.
Then sure, after we resolve this at the very least. If we can resolve it in due time, then yeah, feel free to come back and we can have a look at that.
Thank you.
He very solemnly begins to work away again, all the while under his breath muttering a prayer to Din in Celestial. Okay. So, what now, folks? What's your plan?
I will look over at the rest and say, how are we going to tell Lady Risha?
I am not the person to ask.
Maxwell shakes his head.
Right, we also need to figure out where to leave Maxwell.
Where would someone go to buy a house?
You're asking that to,
Renji.
Would someone go to buy a house?
That's a good question. There would... Wait, hold on.
There's probably a place in the commercial district.
There might be a place in the commercial district, but it also might be someone else. Where did I put my? There we go. You might need to maybe speak to Lord Fontsworth V, or one of his underlings, since he deals with populace and civics.
All right. What do we want to do first?
It's very
Well,
late, right? I can
It-
probably wait till tomorrow.
It's about 6:30.
Yeah, I can probably wait till tomorrow for the house stuff.
Well, Maxwell can chill with us for a little bit, at least till he gets used to things, but then we can see about getting a house here, and if magic stuff's probably what's needed, we could talk to Uriel or talk to someone about helping him with that.
Hmm.
Because Uriel's the nicest guy who doesn't do anything except for money.
Oh, a different thing I was just remembering. Didn't we have something about when we were up there? We found a journal talking about some witch in the town.
Oh yeah, she does magic stuff. I think we heard about that when we first came back to town.
Hmm.
Not this time, but some other time. Maybe she's the other magic item person. I think she was in the slums.
Maybe talk to Uriel first. We don't know this other person.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned any of this, Uriel.
Ow.
Should we start from the
But-
beginning?
We could. Do we want to talk to Lady Risha right now?
Is it even a good idea for us to be the ones to talk to her?
I don't think it would be right if we didn't. It feels like we're scared.
As far as I can tell, we need to find housing, which we can't really do today. We have to tell Lady Risha. Currently, 2 people know about this outside of us.
Didn't we tell the diplomat? And he told the thing and the king.
In
Zora's domain.
in Hyrule Castle Town, I believe.
Oh.
I mean, but yes.
We got here before the diplomat, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be here yet, right?
I don't know. Might have gotten a
I
day
mean,
extra.
if they send a runner, they may have gotten to Hyrule Castle Town before us. But I don't really see how that would work, other than it be a weird.
Well, that here's
swerve.
the question: was whoever you talked to surprised when you mentioned it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Everyone
both
that
were.
you've spoken to has been surprised about the Grastel stuff and the Fairwind stuff for the most part.
Then we're the first ones back.
As far as I can tell, yes.
Well, I guess if she found out we were in town a while and didn't mention it before someone else came here, she'd be mad. I don't know.
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to do that tomorrow?
Sooner rather than later is probably better, I guess. I've never lost a parent before. I don't know how this works.
You only have 2 of them.
I also never had one.
Hmm.
Really.
And generally, as far as I can tell with Lady Risha, they're a big part of her life.
Well, it's not getting done here. And Hikan will start walking towards Lady Risha's.
Okay.
Okay. You wander through the streets, which have now calmed down somewhat, as the evening begins to carry on. You make your way towards Lady Risha's estate, where you can see the 2 guards posted outside of her door, just kind of standing idly, as you approach. They stand to full attention, and one of them says, "Hold! Please state your business."
I stop at about 3 paces from them. My name is Renji Vox, heir of Nihilus Vox. My companions here and I are of the Storm's Eye, a investigative team sent to find whoever's behind the killing of the king. We have news of grave importance to share with Lady Risha.
Very well. One of them opens the door and allows you in.
Bow and walk in.
You head inside and you find that it's quiet here. Everything, much like when you were staying at Simeon's, the layout is more or less the same, but it's very uniform, very, very basic and practical. As you enter, a servant looks over and says, "Oh, are you here to speak to Lady Risha?"
Indeed.
Okay, if you would like to follow me, please.
Thank you.
They lead you toward Risha's study, which seems to be in the same general location that Simeon's was, and knocks on the door.
2 bits.
And from the inside, says, "Come in, come in." The servant opens the door, and they say, "Ma'am, there are individuals here to come to speak to you. I think I overheard them being part of the castle's task force."
Indeed.
And
Yes.
you peer inside, and you see Risha. She's kind of dressed in the same sort of practical fashion as normal. And she looks over and says, "Oh, by all means, let them in." And the servant moves out the way to allow all of you entry before closing the door behind you. And Risha puts down the quill that she was using to write onto a piece of paper. He says, "So, how might I help you today?"
Is she sitting?
Yes.
And is there any other furniture in the room?
There is the desk in front of her, 2 guest chairs, a series of bookshelves, and a table with a map on it.
Right. I'll stand and clasp my hands behind my back. Lady Risha, we come bringing bad news.
She tilts her head to the side and looks to all of you. Says,
Hikan is generally kind of looking at the corner, very interested.
you can
The
see that.
detailing on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it. You can, like, even if it's just in your mind's eye, you can see evidence of your previous break-in. And
Broke into her house and then killed her dad.
yeah.
Why do I always like to play high charisma characters? This is the downside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Says, after glancing over all of you, taking an extra note to notice that there are now 2 maxes, we'll look back to you, Renji, and say, very well. What would that be?
You must forgive us that we cannot share all details of our mission. However, We have been on the trail of a organization that means to do the royal family, that wish to do the kingdom harm. We had dealt with one key figure in Sakosa Port, and afterwards we traveled to Sora's domain and Snow Peak Mountain, Snowhead. Keep forgetting.
As you say that, she kind of like her sitting position changes to something that's paying a significant amount more in attention.
We went to the mountain to track another quarry of ours, one who had brought us no insignificant amount of trouble, and we had hoped to call on Lord Grassel's hospitality for the time that we were there. As we went to try and apprehend our quarry, an ambush was set. This was on orders of your father, Lord Grassel.
She narrows her eyes and
Renji's voice will start wavering a little bit as he continues. As we managed to extricate ourselves from that situation, we went to the mansion to find out what happened. We were at that time not yet fully aware of this, of the intention of the ambush. And we discovered that the staff of the mansion was hostile. And so was your father. We later found out that he somehow had dealings with this criminal organization. But we were forced to engage him in combat.
To be more specific, he was named as one of the 3 lords of the cartel.
We asked him to surrender. We tried talking it out. He insisted on attacking. And we had to defend ourselves.
she stands from her chair and wanders to a nearby window and stares out of it, hands behind her back. But she doesn't stop you from continuing if you do.
From the notes, the books, the files that we found at the manor, we are certain that you had no dealings with this cartel, and as such, it falls to us to bring you this news. And personally, I wish to say that I am sorry that things happened the way they did. I wish that...
Enough?
Very well.
Did above game real quick? Did we leave any of the paperwork with Chaplain Graves?
Entirely up to you.
Again, I need to make copies and distribute them to Graves and Impa.
We need to make some copies of our findings, but we'll be giving them to Mr. Graves if you'd like to look, as Hikan looks towards Renji, as if that's okay to offer.
I glance at Hikan and kind of like, not now. And I wait for Lady Risha to respond in any way.
You will provide me with access to these papers when they are appropriate.
As is your right.
Until then, you will leave me be.
I will bow. And I will leave.
Do the rest of you go?
Yes.
Yep.
Hikan pauses a moment as he just stops at the doorway to look back, and then leaves.
Yeah, there's you close the door, and someone looks at you all and says, that was brief. Would you is there any other business that you have here, or would you need guiding
Nope.
out?
We are, as I
Hikan
know,
hasn't
not
stopped.
welcome to stay.
I see.
I will give the servant like any notices of where they may call upon us,
Okay.
and I will tell them that Lady Risha may need some guidance or counsel of someone within her circle of trust right now. Preferably as soon as possible.
Right. Very well. Thank you. And they will guide you outside, and the door will close behind, and leave you into the evening of Hyrule. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even it doesn't take much with insight that there is just a cascade of emotion that yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing you left when you did. But yes, so is there anything else you would like to do for the day, or are you going to find a place to rest for the evening and continue your investigations the following day?
Khan's got to make a stop at the Temple of Din.
Personally, Renji has had enough happening for today, but he'll accompany Hikan.
Okay.
Poseidon will check where people want to meet afterwards, and then he would go to the slums to inquire about the missing children.
Okay.
I think the Royal Hylian Inn would probably be best, Sidon, because
Yeah, it's
you
close.
can get some room and some
Also,
some
where
food.
that's also where Marashoji made us.
Mhm.
Okay. You make your way to you make your way to the Temple of Din. I will say, for the sake of brevity, a runner had been sent by Larson to more or less explain, not to give too many details, but to explain we need a missionary to go to Zora's domain right the fuck now. But yeah, when upon arrival you do speak with the priests there, and they all kind of like, depending on how much detail you give, even if it's just like, so there is a celestial aligned with your deity in Zora, convalescing in Zora's domain, would you like to go and help him? And they're like, yes, absolutely, and they will immediately make preparations to go. But
When Zollerson said it would be best if you take the missive, Hikan grabbed the missive back, and then that's what he's taking to the Temple of Din, and he's just, this is what happened, here's this. Please read and do what you can.
yeah,
Do the things.
so you take care of that, and that's fine. They immediately set to work to make their way to Zora's domain. Zayden, your journey into the slums. Here's a cool thing. Make a charisma investigation check if you're asking around about the missing children.
Oh, that's worse than my normal investigate. Do I have advantage because I'm the guy who kept giving them food? I told you that.
You can provide even more food.
I can provide even more food.
Yeah, you can provide even more
I'm a
food
good
for
parent.
additional advantage. So yeah, ordinarily I would say yes, ordinarily, but then no because of current circumstances, but yes because you're now offering food again. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. If it has to be charisma, that's a 20.
Okay. Yeah, so it's basically like investigation if you're like scrutinizing for physical clues. And then if you're asking people around, like for information, that would be a charisma investigation.
Well, I could have added a bit of guidance to it. So.
Yeah, go for it.
22! Hey, it's Nick.
Yay.
Hooray. Asking around, like I'll say, in addition to your passive insight of 18, asking around, you actually don't get any information. Like, no one really gives you that, like, any kind of definitive sort of, oh yeah, missing children, totes. Like, there's totally missing children. Everyone's missing a kid or something like that. Everyone seems less like people around the slums don't really want to talk about it. Like, you ask them about it, and the most of the responses have usually been, I don't know anything about that, I'm sorry, and then they move on. Like, they'll take their small sampling of food that you provide them, but then they will just say, no, I don't know anything, mate, and then they'll leave. One person comes up to you, and he says, hey, mate, listen, you wouldn't happen to spare any coin, would you? I need a place to stay for the night.
Certainly. I'll give him 2 golden pieces.
Okay. As you provide him 2 golden pieces, you look up and you realize it's Paulie, one of the town guards that was in front of the sewers during the Marcus Whitestone incident.
Wait, Paulie?
Of the duo Paulie and Tony, yeah.
I'll stare at him in confusion for a bit and say, Paulie? What's happened?
Oh, hey, I recognize you. Hey, sorry for my state of dress. Me
Perfectly acceptable.
and Tony,
I have been much worse.
we got the boot. Apparently resources weren't enough to pay for some of the guards, so we were given the heave-ho. I mean, I've been trying to make do as best I can. Tony's been apprenticing at the Goron Works blacksmith, but yeah, it's been a bit rough.
seems that there's a strangeness to the town now.
Oh?
Tensions. We hear things of missing children as well.
Oh yeah, missing kids. Yeah, think I noticed a few things about that. Generally speaking, a couple of the families I've noticed around here, they'll have their kids, and you know, it's the family relationship is like wavers in, I suppose, quality. But oftentimes they're having a real hard time. But then they're just they like suddenly the kid isn't there anymore, and then they don't want to talk about it. Some of them pretend they never had children. Others they just acknowledged they had kids, but they sent them away somewhere. Somewhere where they could be living better lives, I suppose, but they don't want to talk about it in any more detail. Like from the time that I have had as a god, doing my sounds really pompous, active tours of the slums, they used to be there used to be some level of camaraderie. Like, sure, you get your pickpockets every now and again, and you get your belligerent thugs who do what they do, but for the most part, people in the slums, they've had their fair share of poor life, and they feel that they won't make it any worse by just being together as people, right? They find it appropriate to band together, and now nobody really does. From what I can see, it's everybody out for themselves for the most part, and I don't know what changed that.
I believe that would be fear, would it not? If they are going missing and no one's willing to talk about it, that implies a threat of some kind.
Quite possibly.
Have you noticed any gang activity?
Not really. No, and there aren't really many gangs to speak of. And I mean, back when gang activity used to be known, then you'd recognise people because they'd be wearing distinct colours or something like that, running little protection rackets and stuff. Some of the gangs would keep the peace, so... But it's... Now there isn't really gangs anymore. It's kind of alliances of convenience. There are a couple people around here who've gotten mugged by a group of people, none of which have an affiliation with them. It's just a case of all ganging up on the same person, then taking what they can and then running away in different directions. But that's the thing, like, people steer clear of each other, people don't do much around here, and the gangs aren't really a thing anymore. But there isn't really any guards here to keep the peace either. There's just no presence of law around here, with, I guess, the exception of myself, but I'm just one bloke. I can't really take up that mantle. I barely get paid for it anymore.
Where will you go from here then?
Well, I mean, I've got coin for a night now, and he kind of realizes exactly what he says, and then tries to hand you back the money, and it's like, I'm sorry, mate. it's just a sense of I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I've been a guard for the past 20 years, and now I don't have that, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. Tony adapted quickly, but everything's just changed so much since the king died, and I don't know what to make of it. I'm really sorry. I can't offer too much more information.
That's fine. I did not give you the coin to demand information from you, Paulie. Should give you at least a few days of food and safety to consider what you can do.
Yeah.
I will not take it back.
Okay.
I would like directly say that in character.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I still try to do my best to talk to Tony every so often. So maybe we can, if he hears anything in the commercial district, I can always ask him. But for the most part, I'll try my best to keep my ear to the ground and let you know if there is anything else that can be done.
Thank you. You seem like you will find something new. You still have your friends to keep in touch with.
Yeah.
It is important that what you do have, you keep a hold of.
Right. Well, I won't keep you any longer. You have a good evening, Squire, and I'll be around.
Alright, I shall see you next time, Paulie.
And as you depart to meet with the others at the Royal Hylian Inn, it is rather late.
I was going to do one thing before that.
What's that?
Gonna use conjure animals and summon several rats, cats, and whatever kind of bird would be around this area to scout whilst I head away.
Okay, clever idea. But yeah, as you do that, and the animals do their scouting, we will call it there for a night. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening in. I have been Articulate T, the Game Master. This has been episode 61 of Hyrule Chronicles, Legend of Zelda D&D, and with me, as always, I have had Renji Vox, being played by the Netherlad.
I also have nothing to say that has assonance.
Okay.
But goodbye.
I've also been joined by Hikan Sio, being played by Alvarance.
New person takes over the guard on a very important time, and now there's no guards and they're being laid off.
Well, if you have no guards, then you have no crime, right?
Yes. Congratulations, you have solved crime.
Yeah.
Yay!
I've had Zayden Shari being played by Robopart.
Bye-bye.
I have had Max being played by Keystrith.
We need to get Paulie's job back.
Yeah. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.